Good morning, everybody. We're continuing over here in the laws of KASHRUS of Rabbi Yamin Forest, and we're speaking about when you have a keli, you have a vessel that is made out of two different materials. Over here, he's been speaking about when both parts of that are connected to the extent that they're mechuber, they are connected, and therefore you have to be toivel the whole thing. For example, like we said yesterday, you have a metal knife with a plastic handle, so it's all one, and therefore you toivel the whole thing. Now he says, what if you have vessels that are combined of two separate parts? You only have to be toivel, you only have to put into the mikvah the parts that require tevila. For example, if it has metal or glassware in it, it needs it. That touches the food. And so too, and therefore, any part which is not made out of metal or glass, or even if it is, but it doesn't touch the food, does not require any immersion in the mikvah. And he's going to give an example. And if it's a piece that is a combination of a material that requires tevila and material that does not require tevila, then you have to go back to what we said yesterday to discern if this is something that requires it, meaning can the kli exist without this thing? Is the food touching this thing? Is it holding up the food? So on and so forth. Then you would need tevila in that case as well. So therefore, here's the example of fikach. Blender, very hard Hebrew word. A blender. Any kind of vessel, any kind of cuisinart or the like that mashes up food and stuff, which cuts up and mixes up the food. You only have to be toivel the pieces that are made out of metal, or glass, or the metal piece that's inside this blender that is what's going to end up cutting up and chopping up and slicing and dicing the food. Whatever is going to be the thing that the food is going to touch or is going to cut the food, that's what it needs. But the rest of this kli, of this vessel, that is made of materials that do not require tevila, or there's parts that are made out of metal, but it never touches the food. The bottom, the motor of the blender, the motor of the blender, which is made out of metal sometimes, is not touching the food. The food is in the plastic bowl or the plastic container that you're using on top. So the plastic doesn't need to be blended, and the metal motor on the bottom doesn't need to be blended because the food is not touching there. So only the blades, the removable blades that are made out of metal, that's what requires tevila. Afilu shar chalang v'sim v'chem she'ein tzarich tevila. Afilu asumi mitachis, but it doesn't touch the food. Einam tzarich tevila. In those cases, like he writes, it doesn't need tevila. Now, this is just important to know that if you have, just to go back a little bit in halacha, just like a knife that is made out of metal but has a plastic handle, you toivel the entire thing. So too, for example, let's say in the blender you have these pieces that are the inserts of the metal blades, and very often it's a piece of plastic that is the blade is connected to in order that it goes into the blender itself. So then the plastic is like a handle over there, and you have to immerse that entire piece into the mikvah. But at the end of the day, what he's saying over here is when you have things that don't touch the food and are not involved in the process at all, it doesn't require. But the other pieces that are in that kli, in that vessel, in that machine that you have, that certainly do require to be the metal, glass, and the like, and it touches the food, then you'd have to be toivel that. You'd be toivel that part itself. Okay, have a wonderful day. So much more to speak about, and Be'ez Hashem we will continue tomorrow.